Hello there! Thanks for joining me today for another Stamparatus video. The topic of this one is creating a pattern using the Hinge-Step. The Stamparatus is incredibly handy when wanting to create patterns on projects. I've got two examples to show you. And I'm going to be using images from Ready to Pop and Thoughtful Banners. So I will start with a piece of Whisper White cardstock. This is card front size. And it's bigger than I want. I did that on purpose to give me some wiggle room. So when I'm finished creating my pattern, I will cut it down so it will fit on a note card. So I'll place the cardstock in the middle of the Stamparatus. So I'm going to use a magnet to keep it in place. These magnets are awesome and they're really strong, so try to keep them apart from each other too, because they'll stick together and could potentially break. I'm keeping it away from the corner. Now I could put it up in the corner, but since I want to stamp all the way to the edges, it will be easier to be away from the edges of the cardstock. I'm staying away from the edges of the Stamparatus. So I'll start with this image, place it on my cardstock, and then I'm going to ink it up in Tranquil Tide. Now since I'm using photopolymer stamps, I've made sure to have the foam mat in place. So my next step is to move the plate down one hinge and ink it up again and repeat. I'm going to repeat this 4 more times so I cover all of the white space. Now when you're moving your plate down with the hinges, make sure not to touch your cardstock. It will really help you to keep your cardstock in place, but if you're like me and you get inky fingers sometimes, you'll avoid having any smudges on your cardstock. Okay, so our first image is complete. The next image, we're going to use a solid bar and ink it up in Lemon Lime Twist. And the third and final image we will ink up in Pool Party. It's this cute little banner image. So we'll set it here to overlap with the lemon lime image. Okay, so my pattern is finished. At this point, I want to look at the whole sheet and decide where I want to cut it down for my note card. So here is the finished version. You can see just a little bit of spritzing and a little bit of embellishing to make a darling little note card. Now this is just one example of a pattern you can make using the Stamparatus, and it was so easy. Not only that, but it's cute too. So look at how it looks if you just simply change up the color scheme. I went with a pink and purple color scheme instead of variations of green. Completely different look. Let's try one more pattern, and this time I'm going to start with my cardstock, the exact size I want. So here is my piece of Whisper White cardstock. But I want the pattern to run off the edge of this, so I need some grid paper, which I've cut down to the right size. So just place that there, and place my cardstock in the middle. And I'm going to use a magnet, but just in case my cardstock moves around, I'm going to mark the corners so I can put it back. It's like your insurance plan. Now I want to create a plaid pattern that looks kind of like a quilt. So when I'm finished, this card will have a warm and fuzzy feel, just like a quilt, wanting to wrap up in it. So let's start with the diagonal image, and this time I'm going to ink it up in Lemon Lime Twist. Once again, I will move it one hinge down and repeat. The next step when making a plaid pattern is to turn your plate to the hinges on the other side. Now I could plan in advance to get it in the correct spot so I don't have to reposition my stamp, because now my stamp is in the wrong place, but it's more work than it's worth, so I'm just going to remove my stamp and reposition it on my cardstock. Being a little bit careful because it is already inked up. So once again, Lemon Lime Twist. I didn't get it all the way, so let's try that again. There we go. And moving one hinge. There we go. Let's do one more. One more step to the right, and it kind of hangs off the edge. Perfect, it's looking like perfect plaid. Now let's take the solid image and overlap them. So I'll put that one right in the middle. And this time ink up with Pool Party. It just moved a tiny bit so I can slide that back over because I have my marks. There we go. Okay. Same thing when going the other direction. Move our plate, and then we'll need to reposition the stamp. Now this time, the stamp is not going to reach all the way across the cardstock. So we'll have a seam, which is okay. I will show you how to disguise that when we get to that point. Okay, now we need to reposition the stamp one more time here. Finish those plaid, finish the lines off so they run all the way to the end. So we'll move the plate back. There we go. And once again, my finished pattern, a darling little quilt. Now here is how you disguise that seam, although it landed right in the middle of the line there, you can't really see it. But if you want to disguise it, just call in the help of some embellishments and cover that right up. We needed a greeting anyway. So now it looks darling and is all set to give away. Patterns are so fun to create, and the Stamparatus is the ideal tool to help you do just that. Order yours through your demonstrator or stampinup.com. Thanks, bye.